Riots erupt in Venezuela as protesters clash with police. It's all to do with an opposition politician who was stripped of opposition. Kegal Vyas joins us from Caracas, and we have Juan Forero here in New York City. Gentlemen, thank you both. I'm going to start with you, Kegal. You shot some amazing video that we've been looking at. We're going to look at some more of it. What was happening yesterday?
Well, an opposition leader, Maria Corina Machado, who's been a perpetual thorn in the side of President Nicolas Maduro, organized a rally to gather support because the government ousted her from Congress. They said she violated the Constitution a few weeks ago when she went to Washington to denounce the government in front of the Organization of American States. And, well, it was supposed to be a rally of her going to the National Assembly, and basically it erupted into something that's become rather common here in the last 2 months. The riot police basically covered the entire place in tear gas and water cannons and rubber bullets, and it was quite a spectacle.
And you describe it as a war zone. That's something that's pretty clear here. And this comes on the backdrop, Juan, let me bring you in. Juan, this comes on the backdrop of food shortages and massive inflation within Venezuela. Is this the death rattle, if you like, of a well, not a failed state, because that would be, but of the regime realizing that maybe central planning doesn't work?
You would think so, but no, because the Venezuelan government is in control of every institution, the military, the oil company, the Congress, the Attorney General's office, and so forth. There's a real lockdown control. So in a normal country, when you have the inflation rate that might be the highest in the world and rampant crime and so forth, you might have a changeover. Not in Venezuela. There really is a strong control. And one other thing that's kind of important is that in the opposition, there's also a split, if you will, between those who want to hit the streets, really push the government, and those who believe what we should do is work more calmly for elections in the future and so forth. And some pundits say that these protests in the streets are actually hurting the opposition.
Now, a few weeks back, one of our reporters went in and interviewed a retired general who was basically, as I described, mad as hell and not going to take it anymore. Increasingly, part of the establishment, and retired army generals are definitely part of the establishment, people are getting sick of what's going on there. The inflation is terrible. The food hoarding, which the government doesn't want to happen, it is going to happen because people are terrified of the inflation.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, there are serious problems, and going back to what Kegal said, we're talking about 2 months of heavy protests and a lot of violence in the streets, not just in Caracas, but across the country. And this began because of rampant crime, where university students rose up in protest. The government cracked down, and that simply fueled more protests, and it became about many other things in society.
And now, what's amazing is this is a country that has massive oil reserves, which is a great natural resource, which is basically cash on demand if you manage the economy correctly. Do you think free market reforms will be brought into Venezuela? It could potentially be a very, very rich country if it followed something, if maybe, the ghost of Mrs. Thatcher showed up and said, hey, you got a lot going for you, let's get it right.
It's never going to happen like that. What did happen the other day was that the government did implement a new currency regime. There are very tight currency controls on the economy. That has caused a lot of the shortages and so forth. So they did loosen that up. But are we going to see, the UK circa 1980s? No, that's not going to happen.
Oh, well, you can hope, can't you? Thank you very much, Juan Forero, making his debut on the News Hub here.